All right. So I'm really thankful that Marion and Jane and Robin and Chris have all joined me to practice communion at First Presbyterian Church in Palo Alto. We have communion online, which I've done before. There have been other communities that have done it. So it's not anything new, but it is something that we're kind of all being forced to think about a little bit more. So rather than, we're not going to get into debate about whether you should or shouldn't, but I want to talk through about how we go about doing it as a way to do it. It's not the way, but I know folks have been asking a little bit about what we do. So the first thing, and whenever you're meetings, you always mute everybody. So I have everybody muted on here, and so I kind of mute everybody. And then depending on if you're using slides or not, if you need to stop sharing your screen or if you're already in front of them, in front of folks, I right before this, we're still in a slide sharing mode. So we're coming right out of a prayer time. And then I stop sharing my screen, and then we're here. And what I asked them to do at the beginning is I ask everybody to put it on speaker view. So up at the right-hand top, I say if everybody would just go ahead and press speaker view. And what speaker view does then is it gives you my face, right? It gives you whoever is talking. And I do this for a couple of reasons. One is this is when I do a prayer. So I'll do a Thanksgiving prayer. I'll talk a little bit about communion. There's great opportunity to talk about the expanse of the table. Last Sunday, I really talked a lot about when we talk about the table being bigger than any one table, we really do mean that now. So I go through all of that. I talk through that a bit. And then I say, okay, but before I start the words of institution, go back to gallery view. And then I have everybody go back to gallery view. So then they're seeing everyone. So they go from my face to then they see everybody. And I've noticed in our worship service that kind of seeing people's faces and they scroll through, I see actual, there's recognition and there's just all kinds of feeling that comes up. It was really a very holy moment for us on Sunday. So then I do the words of institution. And so I'll talk however you would do them, right? I kind of riff greatly about the words of institution. And did you all bring something to practice with? Okay. So what I've done is I will talk about my bread, and then I will say, I'll do the words of institution. I'll say, if everybody would please lift your bread up to the camera. And so you can begin to see, so you see everybody. And then I say, my body broken for you. And I say, everybody, if you would just tear your bread. And so folks see it happening right before them. And it's the first time I saw it, I got all teary because it was just all these folks breaking bread. There was a couple families together. And then, which will become my thing, I have this little shot glass thing. And then so folks, I said, either just lift your cup or whatever. And, and I'll do the word institution and pour. And then I just say, let us now partake, or however you're going to do it. And I have everybody dip in front of the camera so that everybody is able to see each other kind of take and partake. And so you're, tortillas and wine, not a great combination, but that's what we got. And then I just go into a closing prayer. This week I'm going to have somebody else come in and do the prayer. So I'll unmute somebody and have them do the closing prayer for communion. And then that's it. I mean, it's very simple. The thing that I found about what's helpful is that they still get my voice and my personality and how they would normally experience communion. I think the comfort of having their pastor feel somewhat familiar is really helpful. So I'm going to take you all off on mute now, and then answer any questions, and then that'll be it. So we're still going to record because I think this is a good chance for if there may be other questions. So thoughts, questions, reactions, how you might do it, anything?
Can't wait to share this with my pastor and our pastor emeritus, George McLeod. And I love it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I think we're doing a lot of permission giving for people, and just this stuff is not that hard. We're just now in this. I've been using the metaphor of, if you were to move from the sanctuary into a fellowship hall because of renovation, you would change how you do worship. because of what's in the room and what's being used. And that's really kind of all we're doing, is we're now in a different setting and we're just changing the way we worship. We don't have the physical intimacy and that presence, which we can't have, but for the most part, we just figure out a different way to do it. So other thoughts, ideas, anything?
Question?
Yep, question.
Okay. So when you do your worship service on Sunday, do you stream it on Zoom or do you do your YouTube channel?
So I use Zoom only. I don't, so the difference for me between streaming and you doing a Zoom worship is streaming is folks are just watching people do something, and which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's very different than when I do this. So when we have our worship, we use Zoom as a meeting. And so everybody is on. It takes a little bit more coordination. I have a couple of people that are assigned to the chat room and have power to mute everybody. But it creates we're all together in that space. So they're not watching me or a group of us lead worship up front. We're all doing it at the same time. So it's just, you're choosing how you would want to do it. You could still do communion that way, even if you were streaming. You just wouldn't see each other.
I guess my question boils down to, did you struggle to get people to sign on to Zoom? Or is this a regular practice for you doing online worship?
Right, 50-50. So we had a midweek prayer service that we were doing on Zoom anyway. So for those 25 or so people that kind of rotated into that group, it wasn't difficult. We also have a lot of folks that use Zoom in their work, so it wasn't that big. Our older folks, who we would have thought generally might have a little bit of a harder time, we assigned 4 or 5 tech deacons about 2 weeks ago to begin to meet with them, call them on the phone, get them, because we knew this was coming out here in California. I mean, we've been at it for a little bit. So we're still using them. So I have 4 people now that I just say, hey, so-and-so needs help. Can you give them a call? Now they can't visit anymore, but you have somebody assigned to them to get on. That's why enabling that view through browser is really important. That part will be a really important part to do. Hey, George, glad you made it. We're almost done, but glad you're here. Welcome. So I think it just depends on what your comfort level is. In either case, you got to practice it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So Saturday, have people show up in a meeting.
About a year ago, we switched to G Suite. We went.
Oh yeah.
And so people have been inclined to be using Google Meet.
Yeah.
But
it's a little clunkier.
It's a lot clunkier.
Yeah, yeah. It's not ideal for what we're trying to create here. Zoom really does have most of that, and it's just smoother. I mean, it's cross-platform, but you will lose people. I mean, I think this is part of the issue, that you will lose folks. So
okay,
all right.
I just wanted to ask. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, George? We already had communion.
Well, I got a whole bottle of wine and a whole loaf of bread. And now I got to do this by myself.
You got to do it all on your own. All right.
Oh, darn it.
I got
go ahead, Robin.
I got mixed up on the time.
That's all right. Well, I'm glad you're going to be in the recording anyway. Go ahead, Robin.
Is there a recording I can watch from the beginning?
Yeah, after this, you're in it still, and then I'll post it. But go ahead, Robin, if you have a question.
I'll find it for you, George.
Thank you.
Yeah, the one thing that the join by browser, I'm kind of the tech deacon for the, so join by browser will help somebody who had a really hard time this morning getting on.
Yes.
The one thing that I'm going to put into that I wasn't prepared for, I have just a little bit of coffee in a big glass. And so putting my bread in there to dip it. So it was a little tricky.
Yes, so go with the tiny shot glass. It looks bigger if you go it closer to the camera.
Excellent idea. Yes, I'll put that in the text as we describe it for people.
Great. All right, you all. I appreciate you practicing with this. I will tell you when it'll be posted in probably a couple of hours. Yeah, thank you all for doing this.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.